Ready? Chapter 21. Too late. Brigadier General Ilsa was out searching for their creator together with two of her officers, a lieutenant and a second lieutenant. She had hoped their creator would have been found by now. This area had gotten quite bad over the past week. They were far too close to Ulfstad to be able to put down their guard. The second lieutenant stopped for a moment and looked around. "Do the rest of you hear something?" The other two looked around, listening for any sound. Ilsa turned to her. "What kind of sound was it that you heard, Ritva?" "I'm not sure. Maybe it was nothing. She went silent as her head fell to the ground, severed by an axe, swung by one of the ruler's soldiers. "Ritva!" The lieutenant screamed in the same second as he was impaled by two spears, pinning him down to the ground. 100 soldiers from the wolf army walked out from the forest, in front of the officers. They all turned their attention to Ilsa. She drew both of her axes. This was a tricky challenge, even for her. The one in charge stepped in front of the other soldiers and introduced himself. "I am Regimental Sergeant Major Vilja of the Wolf Army." He smiled at her. By normal standard, he was considered a tall man, but even he felt small in front of this large woman. She had her hair tied back in a braid and a posture that radiated confidence. "We are not here to kill you, General," he told her. "Then what do you want from me?" she asked in return. "Information. We want information." He turned to his soldiers. "Remember, don't let her touch you unless you wish for a speedy death." Vilja turned his attention back to Ilsa. "You can't take us all down. I'd suggest you come with us willingly. Otherwise, this is going to get really hard for you." The Brigadier General gave him a crooked smile. "Well, I never like to take the easy way out anyway." Aino could feel the exact moment it happened, how Ritva's heart stopped beating, the blood no longer being pumped through her body, instead flowing out of it, covering the ground. Aino focused as she felt the other mage, badly wounded, close to dying from his wounds. She closed her eyes. "I'll try my best to keep you alive until we get there. Don't die on me." She opened her eyes. Juha and Atle were running right beside her and Keon. Juha to the left, Atle to the right as usual. She looked straight ahead and spoke loud enough for the two generals to hear. "Something is wrong. Something is very wrong." Both of the lieutenant generals turned their heads towards her as their eyes widened. "What exactly are you feeling?" Juha asked her with a stern voice. "One dead, another one severely wounded," she answered. "We're still several hours away and it's already starting to get dark," Atle commented as he looked at Juha. "Well, this time we are not stopping for the darkness. Even if it gets pitch black, we'll keep going. Our creator can feel them. She can lead us." It wasn't even a question. Juha looked straight at Aino. He expected her to do this. She turned her head to face him. "I'll be your compass." The officers of the 11th camp were all back at the campsite by the time evening came. All except 3. An ominous feeling was starting to spread among the mages. Had something gone wrong? One of the officers looked up to the sky. The sun was about to set. Should they be out looking in the dark for those missing? Wait till the next day and let the sunlight guide them? 2 of the higher-ranked officers looked at each other and nodded in understanding. Ilsa would not go missing without a reason. She was their Brigadier General. She wouldn't leave them behind without a reason. So why should they leave her? The night would be clear enough. It was a full moon, so the light reflecting from it should give them something to go off. They knew what area her group would have searched. The highest-ranked officer at the camp below Ilsa, a lieutenant colonel, spoke up. 3 officers are missing. We will not leave them behind. All of us will take part in this mission, covering every centimeter of the area our Brigadier General and her search party were tasked to cover. "Here!" one of the officers yelled as he stepped in on the horrific scene of death that had taken place just a couple of hours earlier. 30 dead soldiers of the Wolf Army laid before him on the ground. He bent down and looked at their wounds, all made by axes. He let his eyes wander over the dead bodies. A familiar sea axe caught his eye, and then he saw her. Ritva's head laying several meters from her body, her dead eyes looking right at him. He sunk down on his knees and picked up her head. He held it close to his chest. They had to take it back to their camp together with her body. She deserved better than to die like this. The least they could do was to give her a proper burial. "He's still alive!" The major looked up to see 2 other officers standing next to the wounded lieutenant. They carefully removed the spears lodged into his body. "Doctor, we need you! This is bad!" one of them yelled on top of his lungs. A woman came running at high speed, her black box braids moving back and forth in the air. "I'm here!" she yelled back. She hit the brakes right by the lieutenant and looked at him. "We need to get him back to the camp right away. He's in critical condition." The wounded lieutenant looked up at her. "Doctor, they took Ilsa. The Wolf Army took her." The 3 officers looked at each other. What did the ruler want with their brigadier general? Einar drew a sigh of relief. The blockage in the officer's body had finally been removed. She could start the healing. They were still a couple of hours away from the camp. She turned to Atle. "Do all the camps have medical staff?" He nodded. "Yes, there is at least 1 doctor in every camp. When you join the combined officer and doctor program as a cadet, it is with the promise that you will be promoted to a ranked officer as soon as you graduate. To be honest, it's an incentive to get as many of the cadets to become doctors as possible." "Shouldn't the field doctor's main objective be to help wounded soldiers on the battlefield?" Aino asked him in response. "Who said it wasn't?" He raised his eyebrows. "Doesn't a promotion get you further away from the front lines?" she asked, a bit confused. Atle smiled at her. "Not in the blood armies. The higher you are in the ranks, the further to the front lines you move. The officers lead their soldiers into battle. The generals stand at the very front as the offense and shield of the army." The doctor had her eyes close to the lieutenant's wounds. Even in the bad light she could see what was happening to his body. She had never before seen any of the majors healed this fast. His organs were repairing themselves so fast that you had to be blind not to catch it. She stood up next to one of the other officers, who looked a bit surprised. "Hey, Boyhild, weren't you going to—" "No, he's healing on his own for some reason," she interrupted. "I thought he was close to dying?" the confused officer asked in return. "Yeah, he was, but now I have no clue what's going on," Boyhild answered and scratched her head. Suddenly all the officers felt movement in the ground, increasing with every second, followed by the growing sound of a murmur. All the officers looked around at each other. What was happening? Then they felt it, the tug. They all looked around. Around 70 people were running straight towards their camp, and among them was their creator. "Where is Ilsa?" Yuval approached the officers of the 11th camp. "General, her group walked into an ambush by the Wolf Army. They got 2nd Lieutenant Ritva and hurt one of our lieutenants badly. The Brigadier General was taken away by the Yellow Wolves. We don't know where or why they took her," one of the officers answered him. "Ritva, by God you mean?" Yuval took a deep breath. The officer pointed to a newly dug grave a few meters from them. "We buried her about half an hour before you all came." A woman ran past them. Aino recognized her as the colonel who had scolded Lia after the drunk night at Banke's camp. The colonel fell down on her knees in front of the grave. She threw her sea axe to the side and started digging with her bare hands. Yuval walked up behind her and put his hands on her shoulders. "Please stop, Reidun. She's already buried." The colonel turned around to face him. "I need to see if it's really her. I need to see her face one more time." "Let her rest." Yuval sat down on the ground with his hand still on her shoulders. "She was my little sister. She had just gotten promoted to an officer. She was so proud." She was so determined to prove herself. She didn't want to be in the same camp as me. She wanted to show how she could do it without me watching over her. We grew up together. It was just the two of us. I raised her. I should have been there, protecting her. I failed her." She looked at Juha as a single tear fell from her eyes. "You didn't fail her. You did everything you could." He embraced her as more tears started to stream down her face. "I wish she was still here, alive, smiling at me as proudly as the last time I saw her," Vaden said quietly. "Me too," Juha said in response. "Me too."